Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Midwich Live. This is our second episode. My name is Chris Neto. I'm with Starren, and today is a wonderful day because I get to go shopping with our esteemed panel, and most importantly, my co-host and the hostess with the mostest, the person who drives the smart side of this conversation, Jenny Hicks. How are you, ma'am?
I'm not too bad, Chris. I'm not too bad. So for those that don't know, I moved house last week. So I'm in a new setting. There's a few things that we intend to change. So please don't point out to me our dated dado rail and similar behind, but we're working on the design of the office now. My audio may not be as on point today, and that's certainly nothing to do with my lovely providers, Polly and Elgato. But I have very quickly tried to treat my walls with some acoustic foam. I've got 3 dog beds and a very large rug to deal with some of the echoes that we've got here. But I'm very excited to be here and to be doing it from the new office, which will be my new home for Midwich Live. So we are streaming live across LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and you can listen again afterwards via Midwich Sound. So please join our conversation via the chat platform of whichever streaming platform you are watching us on today. And stay tuned for your chance to win another prize as we did in the last one. So more about that later.
Yeah, we actually have a winner from our previous contest, and we're pretty excited. I'm uber excited to find out how you're going to geek out your office. I too have some Elgato products here in house, which is helping me control my command center. And it won't be your home office, Jenny. I'm just going to pre-warn you. It will turn into your command center.
I know.
You're going to have multiple monitors. You're going to have multiple camera setups, multiple microphones, backup microphones in case something goes wrong. Because in AV, we don't do anything easy. We don't do anything simple. We overdo it and have backups and backups to the backups and stuff like that. So sit back, everybody, relax, enjoy. We are going to go shopping today. Today's topic is retail. So we're excited to have a special guest with us today. But before we go into that, before we go shopping, let's take you on a journey to something brand new that we have. Jenny, would you like to provide us with some cool details of what we are about to show?
Oh, are we talking about the secret new experience center?
No. Yeah. All right. I'll let the cat out of the bag. It was kind of early. I got excited. I thought we were going to go kind of show people since we were going shopping. We're going to wait for that later. Right now, let's talk a little bit about shopping. What has your shopping experience been through this pandemic?
Wow. So obviously it's a really relevant topic for us in the UK at the moment, Chris, because it was only 2 weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago, in fact, that our stores and retail outlets were allowed to open their doors again, albeit subject to some stringent restrictions in line with social distancing and health concerns. So yeah, I've been out for market research, shall we say, and I've observed a few things. Once again, and this is the third time that the UK has come out of a national lockdown, I'm shocked still to find that the digital signage that these guys have invested in remains showing purely advertising content, fashion, food, whatever it is. And we haven't built any of this necessary information and signage into that. Instead, everywhere we have pieces of paper with barcodes for you to scan so that you can sign in and check in as to where you are. We've got pieces of paper telling us which way to go. Some people have splashed out on some floor stickers. And the only conclusion that I can draw from this is that so many of these retailers are not managing their own content and signage in-house. And that's why we haven't been able to repurpose this awesome AV that's eye-catching, that will draw people's attention and help guide them through, and turn it into safety and well-being tech like we should have been able to for this pandemic. What's your experience in the US?
Well, for us, food shopping is one way. I mean, queuing is something that we kind of got real, down to that we figured out how to queue on the food shopping stuff fairly easy. So many people in the store, but you still see opportunity for employers to go out and hire a young person out of college to stand outside and go, next 5 people, next 4 people. That is about as digital as it started. But as of today, a lot of the restrictions are kind of eased as far as how you can get into the store. They do manage how many people are still in the store. If necessary, they'll pull back some people, especially during the holidays. If there was some sort of holiday season going, then they'll most likely have somebody there kind of keeping people from rushing into the stores to go buy whatever they need, especially if there's snow coming, then it's bread, milk, and oats off the shelves, because that's what we do here. We make omelets and French toast to survive hurricanes. So that's what we're doing. But as far as the stores itself, we go into the retail shopping centers. It depends. I would have expected some of the technology shops. There's one in particular that is named after a piece of fruit that has a very weird setup where you have security guards outside and they're only allowing people that have appointments to go through. Very interesting kind of setup. Every other store though, just you're allowed to go right inside with no issue.
Wow. You guys are, I think, are a little further ahead than us, but we've definitely had that experience of the human failure, shall we say, where they're stood at the front of the door. Their job is to explain to us, make us feel comfortable to enter the store, make us feel safe to enter the store, and restrict that access and keep to whatever their capacity limits are. Human beings get distracted, right? Digital signage does not. And I'm just really shocked that for the UK and in many parts of continental Europe as well, we've had this opportunity 3 times over now to get this right, and we still haven't invested in some of the awesome technology that's been brought out predominantly from our digital signage vendors. So that's queue management control, repurposing your shop front window signage to give people an idea and so on. And the only conclusion that I can draw from this is that obviously we respect the retail industry has been hit really hard by this pandemic, and absolutely that's going to naturally have a knock-on effect to their budgets and their level of investment in technology. But I wonder if they assume that all of these solutions are really short-term return on investment, or short-term solutions. And the more you think about it, all of this tech was here before. So we've wanted to capture viewer type, viewer time, engagement level of one type of content versus another type of content. We were already on this journey moving away from touchscreen as the only way to interact with signage and into gesture and sensor and so on. All of these pandemic related solutions, the reason that they came out from the signage providers so fast is because they were already there. They just needed a rebrand and some remarketing. And I really hope that somehow we can, as a channel now, start to get this message through to the retailers that actually this might not be the end. We might be doing this for some time, going in and out of restrictions or, maintaining some restrictions. And if they invest in this technology, it will still serve a purpose for them when, fingers crossed, COVID is long behind us. Have you seen many queuing systems in the States, Chris?
My big revelation, and I know when we bring in our guest, I'm hoping he comes in full garb, QR code suit, but the QR code finally, after years, has finally been kind of socially acceptable in the world here in the US, for example. We've had QR codes for years. You've gone to trade shows, there's QR codes on products, right? That's what we know. So the audience that's here would probably recognize QR codes mainly if you go to an Infocom, you go to an ISE, you want product information, you don't want a PDF handed to you, you zap the picture and it comes on. All of our cell phones are kind of ready for that. They've been ready for that for years, right? Your photo, you don't need an app essentially to take a snap a picture of QR codes anymore. So watching that has been the biggest kind of oh wow moment, because when you go into a restaurant, they're avoiding the paper the paper menus. Yeah. So the fancy restaurants are still going to want to push out the fancy menus and stuff like that. But outside of that, watching little moms and pop shops with QR codes and using that for their ordering systems. Watching how companies are being forced and kind of, by hook or by crook, being forced into the digital transformation. If you weren't in it, you're now in it. Little bagel shops are now, online ordering. Obviously, there is the queuing systems. It's ironic. You're talking about queuing systems. The first thing that people are going to think about is standing outside a store. But queuing systems also apply to drive-thrus and how people have completely changed how drive-thrus are operated right now. Because it's funny, a year ago, a drive-thru system for a fast food place was good or good enough. And there's people that are going to be watching that are going to absolutely light the internet on fire. That good enough just came out of my mouth. But yes, good enough drive-thrus have happened. But you have companies now that have gone and perfected better ways to get you more efficiently through a drive-through, ordering the process, picking up the food. And on top of that, you also have the queuing and kind of the setup in many places for the external pickup and delivery stuff, the Grubhubs and the pickup foods and the, pickup and order type stuff. You've seen a lot more of that even in the retail space. Stores, clothing stores you kind of order your clothes and
click and collect.
Yeah, and then you go pick it up in the store. So I'm excited to bring on Paul Crosbie. Is it time to bring in Paul?
So yes, I think we are getting close to bringing in Paul Crosbie-Smith, and what a great time for it to come up, because we mentioned those QR codes and so on, and BrightSign actually have they've really led innovation through this pandemic with Bright Menu and Bright Link, and some of their moving that interactivity into digital and onto the personal device. So the great choice of brand for us to use for today's guest. But also, I've known Paul for a very long time, which is hard to believe, obviously. But I actually met Paul for the first time when I was working for Midwich as a BrightSign specialist. He came in as a potential end user, shall we say, for a BrightSign demo. And that's because he was working for a company that designed shop floor layouts in ways that would guide you to ensure that you saw the attachment cell products after you'd viewed a certain type of product, and maneuver people around the store in a certain way. And that for me felt like just such incredible insight to have when we were talking about retail. So yes, let's bring on Paul Corsbie-Smith from BrightSign. Hopefully he's there and we don't have the same situation as last time. Yay!
Hey, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world.
Hey,
our first live guest. This is awesome.
Thank you for having me.
There was no internet issues. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, Jen, don't give away how long we know each other, because clearly we don't want people to know how old we are.
Exactly.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, where I came from back in the day was all to do with the store and the design layout, and forcing people to go down different routes. And retail has changed so much in this period of time. I mean, if we was to go back to my old job then as to where would we put the cashier, where would we put the kids' clothes, now we're just following arrows around the store and you have to do this. So I can imagine in their world, it's extremely complex right now. So I'm kind of glad I'm doing what I'm doing now.
I'm excited to have Paul on for one simple fact. There's a show here in the US that's on one of those Discovery channels. That's like how it's made. And I absolutely love the science behind the retail side of it. And if you are that person, we can have offline conversations till the sun, till the cows come home, because I'm interested in knowing why certain products are on certain aisles, and why at a certain height, and why at the end cap. That is so cool, because I get suckered into buying a ShamWow every time I walk around the corner. I don't need one, but I got one. I may have 4, who knows? But there is, just to get it kind of like out of the way, there is a science to how things are displayed in stores.
There's been millions and millions of pounds spent on this science, and it's not just one store. Every brand has a different way of how it wants to work, which is why these agencies exist. Because, if you're a top fashion store, you want people to go in a certain way to pick up certain objects. If you're a food outlet, you always know that the cashier is always near the checkout, so you can get out, get to your car quickly. In other ones, they want to go to the back of the store. There's huge science behind every single brand. So, email me and I'll fill you in on some tips.
I just don't want to keep buying these gadgets that I don't need, Paul. Please tell me to avoid the end caps at some point.
Well, as someone that works with all these brands, I want you to buy their stuff. Otherwise,
There's only so many blenders a person needs. I'm serious. I'm done.
And speaking of brands, our competition later in the show has something to do with a particular brand. So I'll throw a quick question out to our audience now, because we've been having this debate whilst we were having our sort of rehearsals and sound checks for this show today. Is it Nike or is it Nike? So please comment which you use. I'm guessing we'll just spell Nike, Nike, and Nike you can put an extra E on the end, so we can get a feel for how many people, and we'll explain how you can get into that competition later on in the show. But Paul, I would love to know from you what you guys have done that for me has been really exciting. And you'll notice that the title of this show starts "No Touching," and I'd really love to hear how BrightSign responded to that nervousness from shop visitors and so on, and people coming to public spaces around touching communal touch points and touch screens. Yeah. Tell me how you navigated that.
So, I mean, it was a huge bombshell for all of us when this happened. For the past, let's say, a decade, we've been teaching people how to interact by using touch, whether that be in a store, on your phones. We've been really pushing this out. So it was a real bombshell, as you said, and you mentioned a lot of things during the pre-interview. But what we've seen is that during a crisis situation, things accelerate. And they accelerate at such a speed that people catch up very, very quickly. And you mentioned QR codes. I mean, I've been selling QR codes or the application behind QR codes for as long as I can remember, the same as NFC chips. These things come and go, these technologies. But literally overnight, QR code became our best friend because they're simple. The best thing one of the questions people always come to me is, what's the best technology you've ever seen? What would you put out there? And it's like, it's not about the best. It's about simplicity. And it's about how can I get everybody to use it so they all understand it. With digital signage, you have about 3 seconds to gain their attention when it's digital signage. If it's an actual touch application, you've got about 30 seconds for them to learn it, understand it, or you've lost them. So there's no point in overcomplicating it. But a QR code, we've all seen it around for years and years, but didn't really know what it did. And now, all of a sudden, certainly in the UK, you have to check in every restaurant because it's the NHS track and trace. So we got used to it very quick. But what BrightSign did, and this literally was the moment we landed in ISE, was everyone was kind of taken back and going, right, okay, this is real. What are we going to do? Because we had, a dozen touchscreens on our booth. What was we going to do to get people in? And then, Jeff Hastings, our CEO, I mean, he is just a brilliant, brilliant man. And almost overnight, he came up with Bright Menu, Bright Link. We already had Bright Voice. But Bright Menu was the one that just kind of took off. And it was a very, very simple way of getting a digital menu onto your phone by scanning a QR code. And you could already be inside an establishment, you scan it on the table, and it just opens up. So within literally 3 or 4 seconds, you're already into the application. Nobody's thinking about it. Because I don't know whether everyone was following the press, but in certain areas in the globe, printed menus were outlawed. You couldn't use them anywhere. So they had to have a means. And some people were just doing a small menu board outside and saying, this is our limited menu. And some were going, okay, we'll do the QR code. So we enable that. So you can put all of that information on one of our BrightSign players. And because we have a Wi-Fi module on there, it acts as the internet. So you're not actually using the internet. You're using everything local. So any small business to a large business can adopt this for just a few bucks. A few pounds. I shouldn't say bucks. What am I saying? Chris, it's your influence here.
I got you, man. I understand what you said when you said bucks.
It's a global show. It's a global show. The Nike and Nike debate, I think, is possibly a US versus UK thing. But I have to say, it's a firm Nike at the moment, but there's a few Nikes coming in. I personally say Nike, so I don't think it's a specific.
I'm a Nike person as well, so I'm sorry for everybody who's out there just using one E at the end of it. I apologize. You may be wrong for this one. I'm typically not a hardliner when it comes to certain things, but I've been told numerous times that it is Nike, and even by the shoe collectors. And there's a handful of us in the AV world that actually like the Nike sneakers. I'm prone to a different brand, but that's okay. We're all human. We can all have different tastes and styles. So, Paul, tell us something that I want to know, because here we go now off talking about sneakers, and we've talked about restaurants and menus. I need to ask the question that's on everybody's mind. What is the coolest project that you've ever worked on that you were like, wow, if this was my last project ever in this business, this is the one that I'm going to put my name to?
So, Chris, I mean, that's a real tough question when you've done some of the projects that I've done. And honestly, I could bore people to death in bars talking about my digital signage experience. In previous interviews, I have claimed to have invented the video wall. I did some really nice stuff in London during my days at Christmas time, doing the really fancy stores. But actually bringing something which was a little bit more recent was probably Edinburgh Airport. And the reason why I say that is there was lots of elements to it. And I actually started the project with my previous company, DataPath. And due to COVID, it's kind of gone on a bit of a lengthy process, but I've managed to squeeze BrightSign in there as well. So we've now got Edinburgh Airport, the badging system. It's the largest LED wall in Europe. So it's something like 85 meters long, which is 17 times HD. And each section of it is then controlled by a BrightSign player. So it's all linked up, it's all synchronized, and look it up on our case studies. It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm really actually quite pleased about that one because of the longevity and how I was involved from the beginning.
All right. I have to ask the second part to this, because you kind of went down the road of the badge. You obviously hand in hand in both. So are you a form versus function person, or are you kind of liking the whole, a lot of these airports are getting really slick. There is dancing clocks. There's transformative, displays that they're moving and turning depending on the amount of traffic, and, different artwork that comes up at different times of the day or the seasons. But here you are, how is that connecting back to your badging and queuing, and how do you kind of make that all one fun experience?
I tell you what really gets me every time, and I've been using this term forever, is content is king. So the application is fantastic, and there's lots of applications out there, but they fail at the content side of it, and you can get a little bit underwhelmed. And then some things just completely blow your mind. I've been following a couple of guys on LinkedIn recently where they've had this 3D animation of like a lion jumping out. I don't know if you've seen it, but as soon as I saw that, I was in contact with a guy and saying, this is amazing. Could you do this with BrightSign? And it was, it's those kind of things that you have to stitch all the ecosystem together. I mean, we're a great enabler of digital signage, but you've got to kind of bring in that entire ecosystem, whether that is a video wall or a processor, to make things work. But yeah, what gets me excited, I guess, is content, really.
Content is king, right? And that is something that gets said industry-wide and marketing-wide a lot. But I would have to jump in here and just say that, you're in a fortunate position as BrightSign, as I think the first true 4K media player manufacturer as well, to be able to say content is king, because of course you make all content look good. But I would argue as an AV provider through the Midwich group that you need to make sure that you've got a very nice, swanky and high resolution canvas to show that content on as best as possible as well. So, but hey,
that's the ecosystem, Jen. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly. But no, the content is king. Plus the screen, plus the player, plus the cabling, and so on. Now, we are going to do something this week that we would have liked to have done last month, but our guest was unable to join us, which was a great way to prove to everybody that we are live. This week, our guest has successfully joined us, so you now know that we weren't lying, and we are going to have special guests join us on these shows. But we're also going to be really honest with you. So we don't want to be bringing in our guests and you having a subliminal pitch in the background. We're going to be really upfront and tell you are about to get a 5-minute sales pitch, but it's going to be a little bit different. Chris.
I am going to make Paul probably the most uncomfortable person in AV at this very moment. Have you been to New York?
I'm just trying to think, me in a lift with you, that's making me uncomfortable already.
I was just about to say, because it's going to be me and you going to the top of the Empire State Building to take a selfie, maybe. I don't know. An AV selfie at the top of the Empire State Building. So we're going to give you 5 minutes. We're going to be in a hot elevator. I'm feeling uncomfortable, but I'm standing next to you, and I want to hear, tell me how or why I should pay attention to digital signage. More importantly, why is BrightSign, the key player or the big player in that space? And we got about 5 minutes till we get to the 100th floor. Two things are going to happen, Paul. Either I'm going to throw you out, or I'm just going to try to exit out and jump out myself. So you got 5 minutes. Let's make this happen. Ready? Can I do a ding? Can I do the elevator doors closing?
Absolutely.
And 5, 4, 3, 2, let's boogie.
Hey man, what's up?
Tell me.
I just come from one of my conferences. So I work for one of the leading manufacturers of digital signage players. We're just based out of California, actually. Mm-hmm. You probably not heard of us, but let me explain a little bit what we do, and hopefully you can get a gist of it. So for many, many years, we've been turning the analog information world into the digital world. Let me explain that a little bit more. You look like the kind of guy that likes a burger.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two. I just kind of thought that. Yeah. So when you go into your quick serve restaurant these days, you'll notice that a lot of the stuff is now digital. In fact, most small cafes and coffee houses are also digital. So you can see the latest choice. Things are going to change on a day-to-day basis. They're going to give you a special offer. And in some cases, you can use a touch screen to actually make your choice. It's made your life simple, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is enabled by digital signage, and a lot of that quick serve restaurant is actually done by BrightSign.
Interesting. So you're the guy that's making me, the vinyl guy, into the MP4 kind of person. This is awesome. Tell me more, because I need a new TV.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, the other thing is the airport experience. We all go on holiday. We all travel a lot, right?
Yes.
The moment you go into an airport these days, it's a daunting experience. We don't like it until we're at the bar having a beer. We're kind of in a nervous situation. So the first thing you do is you're looking around, you're checking the notice boards for when your flight's going to leave. Mm-hmm. This is another form of digital signage. It's instant information, and that's what BrightSign deliver. We have a cloud-based system which gives you instant access to information. Once you're passed into the checkout or go through, you're into duty free. There can be some advertising about the latest aftershave or whatever you want to buy. And a lot of this can be interactive as well. It could be lift and learn, and it's showing you product. So that's what we do. We bring you all this information without you even kind of having to do anything. We make things really, really simple, and it makes you buy more stuff. It makes you more educated and more informed.
Nice. I'm going to go buy an I Love New York shirt based on the little screen that's in front of me right here. That's awesome. It works. It works. And I don't even think that was 5 minutes, right? You want to buy it? No, you sold me. I mean, listen, by the time we get up there to that 100th floor, maybe we'll exchange some business cards. This was a fascinating conversation.
Guys, I'm supposed to get brought back in to go ding dong. You're not supposed to finish before the 5 minutes. I've missed my moment.
It's okay. It's okay.
Chris was already
whilst I was exited and stuck in the green room by producer Ben and producer Rachel, I've been actually rehearsing my different ding dongs, and I didn't get a chance to do it. So I'm gutted.
Jenny, what would you rate Paul's elevator pitch to me, the unknowing New Yorker sitting in an elevator with him?
I think that was a pretty good one. Pretty slick and pretty quick.
He did mention, I'll give you points for mentioning coffee houses, because we don't have enough of those in New York. You talk about travel. That was great. It's so easy to get around New York City right now. You talked about the airport, because Newark Airport is definitely the armpit of America when it comes to the top airports in the country. I hate going to Newark. But if you had the choice, right? I would take Newark over the other two New York airports just based on a distance and stuff. But we definitely need some better tech, and that's a good place to put BrightSign players and BrightSign digital signage stuff. So, folks, if you are looking, this is the gentleman you want to speak to, because he talked about bright menu, bright voice, but this is the bright guy. He knows his stuff.
People do want to speak to Paul, actually, and I'd encourage, if we've got any other questions, please do pop them in the comments, and they'll be presented to us on the show. But the first one I've got, Paul, I think you referred to but didn't necessarily drill into earlier, Bright Voice. So we've had a question about what Bright Voice is. Maybe you could tell us.
Okay, so I'm not sure if I can mention brands, but I think I need to in this instance, because a couple of years ago, Jeff was involved with Amazon with Alexa, and they had a problem that we needed to solve. Is that they needed to be able to demonstrate Alexa in a store, but they didn't necessarily want to put it live on the internet because all kind of stuff is going to go wrong. So Jeff kind of come up with the idea is that we could contain Alexa inside a BrightSign player. And then we could add some microphones and you could talk to it and you could ask various questions. I mean, the obvious ones are, which we didn't really want to use is what's the weather like and things like that, because that would be a bit of a dumb thing to do in a canned demo. But we had some Hue light bulbs and we had some other things that you could go in and you could say, hey, Alexa, turn on the light bulb. And it would come on. Or you would say, turn it purple or blue. And it was all kind of contained. But what it was supposed to do is give the person in the store that couple of minute demo to say, I know what it does. I'm comfortable with using this device. I'm going to take it away. But because we had put everything inside an offline experience, it was a safe thing to deploy. And this went literally everywhere. So I see this as a really big thing in the future. We've done a couple of other deployments since then in store. But yeah, if you can come up with some scenarios of where actually I can think of every digital signage system that I've ever sold could now be voice.
Yeah.
This is very interesting because there is we can have a whole show, Jenny. We can bring a couple heavy hitters
voice control, yeah,
on voice control, and we can have Paul come in and represent the digital signage side of the business, because there's a lot of people that just don't want to allow, or just because for certain reason, let's not stir the privacy and security people all, in a fluster. But there's the stigma against voice, and I think a lot of it has to do with similar kind of what you were saying there, Paul, which is, there is voice and then there's voice assistant and voice digital assistant connected to the internet. And I think once we can separate those in the conversation, I think people can finally get to the point where they're going to be, comfortable with allowing a product. And we're just using Alexa because it's a very popular thing, but a voice activated control setup, especially in a no touch world, which is obviously something that we're talking about here. So that is super interesting to hear that is actually being deployed in public in a commercial environment. You, sir, are winning me over.
Exactly. So I know you guys want to wrap it up, but aside from the Bright menu, which I mentioned, plus Bright Voice, the Bright Link sits in between all of those products, which means that, touchscreens have become a little bit of a backseat right now. They will come back 100%. But in the meantime, using a QR code, we can now take control of that application on the touchscreen and move it to your own device. So the experience stays exactly the same, but it just means that those applications don't become redundant. Or if you are thinking of deploying a touchscreen, you can continue to do it. And then when it's all safe, we can then take the QR code label off and you can go ahead and do that. Or you can have both. We're kind of in between there right now. I just wanted to get that in as well. Sorry.
I love that. I think that that is something that resonates across all vertical markets as well. I know we're focused on retail at the moment and giving people that choice to touch, not touch, the communal touch point. We've all become experts in using our own personal devices. So the whole QR code and moving that touch interface onto your device lends itself really well to the worldwide new skill set that we've found. But it's about choice and it's about not compromising on your buying decisions right now, because what you wanted pre-pandemic, you're probably still going to want post-pandemic. So let's not change everything because of what we hope is a short-term situation. And it sounds like what BrightSign are doing, which is great for the channel and the user experience, is giving us that choice and giving us that transition period really easily without costing us extra, which is fantastic. So thank you so much, Paul, for joining us.
Is that my time up? Oh.
I think so. Yeah, we've got to get a competition winner, and then we've got to plug a new competition. But if anybody does want to raise any questions with Paul or connect with Paul, how best should they get in touch with you?
So they can get me on email, which is Paul Crosbie-Smith @brightsign.biz, or you can get me on LinkedIn, or you can get me through any of the Midwich guys, and they all know who I am.
Fantastic.
Is it Nike or Nike there, Paul? What's your decision? We haven't heard your.
Well, I know it's Nike.
Thank you very much. Let the internet decide around that. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming by. Jenny, you have some cool friends and people that are very knowledgeable, especially in that cool data science part of this retail side, which I am super intrigued about. Thank you again, sir, for coming by and spending some time with us and educating us on the wonderful thing of the wonderful world of digital signage and especially BrightSign. That was a pretty cool guest. Thank you for that that hookup there, Jenny. That came from you. That's pretty solid. He knows his stuff.
And it's paid off, so I think I'll be okay. Nobody said anything bad, so they might let me recommend a guest for another show in the future.
Absolutely, we should start taking a poll about who the people want to see on this show and who we can put on the hot seat and give them an elevator pitch.
I would love that. Yeah, no, absolutely. Anyone, on the platform right now or like later on, please let us know who you want to hear from, and we'll happily invite them to join us in line with our themes for each monthly show. But we would love some inspiration on who you guys would like us to feature as a guest. But probably why so many people are here, let's say who won the competition from last time. So it was a £200, dollar, euro, whichever currency, within reason, for your location, Amazon voucher. And I believe, Chris, you have the name of the winner.
Yes, I do. The name of the winner is Mr. Gabe Maronta of Zoom Video. Wow, from Zoom. Check this out. Hey, if anybody out there knows Gabe, please let him know via the socials that he's won. He doesn't have to be present to win, but put a little fear in him. Make him comment. Make him go out there and say, or let him know that he's won. If he tagged Midwich Live, that would be great. So Gabe Maronta is the winner of last episode's big question. And now we have a question coming up for the next episode. You're going to go ahead and we're going to give you the question. You can find the answer and you go to the website and put that on. But it's competition time. So here is the competition from the Nike theme that we ran today, doing retail. So today's question is, what year did Tiger Woods win his first Masters tournament? Obviously, this is something that is near and dear to producer Ben's heart. I'm not a golf person. I'm not allowed to golf. I was on a golf course once, and they said never come back again. Listen, I thought we can go anywhere with those little carts, but I guess you can't. So we will allow producer Ben to tell us about golfing outings and stuff like that. But please enter at midwich.com/MLCComp2. That is the website. That's where you go. You answer the question, Google it, find out if you're not, a golf person. Add that in, put your name into the drawing. Next episode, we will announce the new winner. This episode, we have already said Gabe Maronta is the winner from the previous one. We're looking for more people to interact. Jenny, did I do that all right? Did I get all that information?
I think so. I think we're fortunate enough that producer Ben and producer Rachel type it underneath us, I believe. So if we say it wrong, if in doubt, read what they write, because that's definitely right. But hey, we have got one final little treat for you. So we're going to attempt to stream some video from within our platform that we use here for Midwich Live. So fingers crossed, bandwidth permitting, that everyone gets a good experience. But here is a teaser video for something that we're very excited about. We are finally able to, within the COVID restrictions and social distancing guidelines, open our new experience center at Innovation House in Bracknell in the UK. And I think you might get to see our little teaser video now.
World premiere. Now that's an exclusive. world
That was
premiere of the
exciting.
Innovation House music video. This is awesome. And listen, I wish I had Innovation House closer to me, but this is for the people, by the people. These are, AV people, and Jenny had a massive part in the design of the space and how it looks and getting all the parts and pieces that
Don't
are
say that. They haven't said if they like it yet.
She just had an okay vote, maybe, but all the cool tech that's in there has a connection back to everybody and what everybody needs to see, from the LED walls right down to the UC, bits and pieces that are in there as well. There's a little bit of everything for everyone. I'm excited. I'm hoping that this is going to be the next big thing out in the UK. So this would be great. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's so great to finally be able to open it. I mean, for anyone who's sort of followed the journey, we were installing, or we're having our structural build done the week that the UK went into lockdown. That was when it was initially planned for, and because the team that were helping us with the structural build had actually recently visited Dubai to set up for a show, they had to postpone because of the quarantine requirements, and it really has just been a stop start. But what it has meant is that not by choice, but it has ended up that we've completely installed this space, the technology in this space entirely ourselves. So we're really proud, actually, as a group, of what we've created. We've partnered with over 50 of our leading and innovative vendors to create this space. We're accurately representing tech in over 10 applications or vertical markets. So you can bring any channel partner to this space and they will see the technology in context. And we've made sure that we're able to also, feed the tech guys with real good in-depth looks at how we've created certain things and have a real hands-on play with everything. I believe it's also the only place, certainly in the UK, I'm not sure about the world, but where you can compare LED technology and brands, and that includes we've got a specific viewing position at the Experience Center where you can look across 4 different brands of LED wall and compare pixel pitch and micro LED versus mini LED as well. So really, really exciting.
Awesome.
I think we now are supposed to talk about the next show.
We will talk about the next show, but really quick, I want to thank everybody who has been making, putting in the comments and everything along all of the social. We know you're watching. Thank you, everybody on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all those things. Chris Smith with 1997, kind of dropping the hint. I don't know if that's true or not, if that's the Tiger Woods thing, but if it's not, it's a good swerve. You have to get the answer right would be the only caveat to the things. Thank you, Chris, for being a part of this, and Will Matthews and Lloyd Platt and Lori Moss and Hannah. Thank you all for dropping in the comments in the comment section. We are paying attention. We are watching you. We are engulfed in our own conversation. So being able to go back and forth and see what the socials are saying is great, because that's how we get everybody involved. But let's talk about the last thing that I want to talk about is the next show, which is scheduled to be aired on Friday, May 28th at 3 p.m. British Summer Time. And we're going to be talking about the hybrid workforce, supporting our technology needs to ensure safe and productive home office setup. This is a fun topic, and I'm excited to talk about that because I may know a little bit about home office setup in this weird kind of setup that I'm in right now. Jenny, what are your thoughts on the upcoming show before we close out?
Well, I'm learning, aren't I, now on the home office? So, I found when I had a smaller home office, it was actually quite a lot easier. But filling this space, I'm learning all sorts of stuff. And I've had a lot of fun learning about how sound behaves on flat surfaces and so on. And I've had to use acoustic treatment. So it's such a relevant topic. But we can't tell you now, but I can tease that we've got an excellent guest joining us and a really cool competition for the next one. And I think that hybrid workforce topic, goodness, how relevant is that right now? I have some really strong opinions. And actually in many of our group companies, we are currently living this ourselves of what technology to invest in, whilst we really just don't know for sure how people are going to work longer term and how many people will and won't want to come back to the office. So really exciting show to come. And I think it is time for us to wrap up, which might make us only 2 minutes late this time.
No, we'll be fine. Jenny, where can we get more information? The audience needs to connect. Where can they find out more information about you?
So you can find me on LinkedIn, or you can tweet me at Midwich Jenny, or you can email me if you would like to, jenny.hicks@midwich.com. And if you're unsure of Midwich in your territory, wherever in the world you are, you can also come and ask me, and I can point you in the right direction to your local Midwich company.
Sounds great. I'm going to wrap up this meeting with my contact information. Is very simple. I'm Chris Neto on most of the platforms. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Twitter, especially YouTube on occasions. But LinkedIn is probably the best place, Christopher Neto, CTS. If you do your searches, you'll find me there, Chris_Neto on Twitter. If you're looking for distribution in the U.S., Theron.biz, that's part of the Midwich Group. We are the company that represents that here in the U.S. Well, I'm in the U.S., depending on where you are. Again, Jenny will have all the information as far as what group and who can help you locally for your local representation. So please check out all the fabulous sites, products, and groups. I'd like to thank BrightSign again for coming by. Paul, thank you so much. I know that he stuck around because I've seen a couple messages pop up. Thank you so much for your comments. Yes, you are invited back if Jenny allows it. You have to be nice to her. So that's the message I got back from Jenny. Please be nice to her. Outside of that, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Today has been a fun show. This has been Midwich Live. Use the hashtag Midwich Live. You'll get us. You'll get producer Ben. You get producer Rachel. You get everybody watching. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on a Friday. And we look forward to the next show. I'll see you on the next one.